If you're looking to identify trees, there are a lot of people and resources available to help you. One of my favorite resources is a dichotomous key. A dichotomous key divides things into two parts so you can answer a question and it'll get you to the tree you're trying to identify. These dichotomous keys will use things like botanical terms, asking you questions and helping you identify what you're looking at. It's important to know what these botanical terms are so you can properly identify them and get to the tree you're trying to learn. Let's start by talking about two common leaf arrangement types on trees: opposite leaves and alternate leaves. In trees with opposite leaves, the leaves are paired at the same level on opposite sides of the stem. That means each pair of leaves grow directly across from each other. This is what we'll see with our maple trees. Now, with alternate leaves, the leaves are staggered along the stem, and each leaf grows at a different level, alternating sides as you move up the stem. So to recap, opposite leaves are paired directly across from each other, while alternate leaves are staggered along the stem. Next, you will look for the leaf type and how that leaf is attached to the twig. Simple leaves have a single undivided blade, and each leaf is attached to the stem by a petiole. Then compound leaves are made up of multiple leaflets that are all attached to a single central stem. Each leaflet looks like a small leaf, but together they form one compound leaf. Remember, simple leaves have a single blade, while compound leaves are made up of multiple leaflets. Finally, understanding the types of leaf margins or the outer edges of leaves can help you identify your trees. Serrated leaves have edges that look like the teeth of a saw or on a knife. These small, sharp teeth point towards the tip of the leaf. These can also be called toothed. Entire leaves have smooth, unbroken edges without any teeth or lobes. The margin is continuous and even, and these can also be called just smooth leaves. Finally, lobed leaves have projections from the main part of the leaf, and those indentations are sinuses. Now that we've learned some botanical terms, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the Acer genus. These are our maple trees in Wisconsin. We're going to talk about things, how to identify them individually. We're going to look at leaves, buds, twigs, bark, even the ecosystem that they're growing in to help you identify what maple trees are growing on your property. Something to start out for with all of our acers, they will all have that opposite branching pattern where they're coming out from the same point, making that V. I'm going to start with our sugar maple tree. So behind me and all around me, we have a lot of sugar maples. This one is a little bit younger of a tree and this one's a little bit older. We're going to go up closer and look at the bark in a little bit more depth. But right now we're going to start out with the leaf. The leaf, it's a simple leaf with different lobes protruding, and the sinuses are the cavities that go in between the lobes. And on a sugar maple specifically, those sinuses will be more of a U shape than a V shape. That's something important for me to remember when I'm identifying these. And then another identifying factor, we have a reddish brownish twig, but something that really helps me is that the bud is a pointed bud at the end. Kind of sharp and hard to focus right there, but if you see it, it points at the end, that small bud. So let's take a personal or a better look right up close at that bark. On a younger sugar maple, this bark will be a gray-brown and smooth on younger ones. And on the older one, they're more fissured with long, irregular flakes. Another great maple we have here in Wisconsin. This one's great for ornamental purposes, but also can be found in your native Wisconsin woodlands, the red maple. This one here hasn't quite turned the marvelous red, but I'm sure it'll get there later this fall. To help you find the red maples around your property, let's start by looking at the leaf structure. So just like all of our other Acer species, this one is oppositely branched. It's a simple leaved maple. It has 3 to 5 main lobes, and in between those lobes are sinuses. And for the red maple, the sinuses will have a V shape to them, a sharp V. I would say that this maple is also coarsely toothed and it has a nice round bottom to it right here. Now looking at the buds, another helpful way to see the red maple, the terminal bud on the red maple will be rounded and it is a red to green color. We'll look up that closer. I'm standing under a younger red maple, but we can kind of look at the bark to help us see the difference. It's typical for most young maples to have a smooth gray bark. But the red maple will have a single trunk stem, and we'll go look closer at an older maple to see the difference. On a mature red maple, the bark is usually a gray color, and on older trees, it's often broken into plates or scaling. Some people describe it as being a stripped texture. I'm here with one of our faster growing maple species of Wisconsin, the silver maple. So we're going to talk about the leaves, the buds, the twigs, and the bark to help you distinguish the silver maples maybe on your property. So starting out, just like all of our maple species, these are oppositely branched silver maples. They're a simple leaf. The leaves are coarsely toothed. It's kind of serrated also. They have 3 to 5 lobes, those protrusions coming off, and then the sinuses are the cavities in between those lobes. And something really distinguishable about a silver maple is that those cavities, those sinuses, will go almost all the way to that mid vein right there, making it really distinguished. And then also for the buds can form a group or a cluster of multiple buds, and eventually will turn into like a reddish color. But this shows really well right here, this like group of clusters on the silver maple. The bark of silver maples start out smooth and light gray, but become darker and more broken with age. With age, the bark creates long flakes that can strip into shaggy, long furrows. It's also not uncommon to see silver maples have multi-trunks as shown here. Finally, we can take a look at the box elder tree. What's special about box elder trees is that not only are their leaves oppositely arranged, like all maples, but they are also the only acer that have compound leaves, with 3 to 5 leaflets that have serrated margins. Their twigs are slender and often bright green in color, with buds that are opposite each other, rounded at the end and covered in little white hairs. To conclude this lesson on how to identify maple trees you can tap, it helps to take a glance at the 4 species we learned today and see the comparisons. On the screen are quick tips to help you identify the maple in your woodland. Sugar maples have the U-shaped sinus on their leaves and a pointed bud. Red maples have a V-shaped sinus and rounded buds. Silver maples have leaves that are lighter colored on one side of the leaf than the other, with deep sinuses that run almost to the midvein, and their buds are bound together in clusters. And finally, the box elder with its unique compound leaves and green, hairy twigs. Next time you're in your woods, bring along a dichotomous key and see what you can identify.